I've just had enough of complying out of fear.
This is exactly like being in a cult.
It's about what you think.
My favourite is this one though, because Dad is the happiest Freemason in this one. This is a great picture.
That's straight off one of my books, isn't it? That head.
The head is, yeah, they just put it on. That's great. But of the images that they show, there is one which is genuine, and you were sat in the, I want to say the Grand Wizard's chair, but I don't know if that sounds.
The worshipful masters, I think they call it, something like that.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean that was funny, and you know when I see them using it to say this is evidence he's a Freemason, it's almost hysterical. What happened is a long time ago now, I was speaking in Boston, Massachusetts. Now I knew Boston, Massachusetts had a big Freemasonic lodge. I wanted to go down and see it, so I went down with about maybe 3 others, and I wanted to see the symbolism on the side, which there was symbolism, and we looked across to it was the reception. I think it was over there. And there was no one there. So I thought, well, keep walking, see what happens. So we walked across this hall, nobody. Then there's this big, like, grand staircase at the end going to the next floor. We walked up that. And we were looking at each other because, where is everybody, right? And in this whole time we were in there, we met one guy, and he seemed to do with some building work or something. So we walked on the first floor and eventually came to this big door. Big 2 doors, pushed them open, and we're in this big temple, right, with the twin pillars and all the garbage that they have. And there's the worshipful master's chair. So what am I going to do? Yeah. I'm in my anorak. I'm not in my regalia. I'm in my anorak. I've just come off the street.
Well, I joined the demonstration in Vienna on Saturday, which was the biggest demonstration in the history of Austria. We heard there were about 200,000 people there, and apparently I have heard the police said that there were 350,000 people. So it was people coming together from all areas, and everyone's standing up right now. And it just goes to show, as I like to point out, how do you know that an awakening is happening? By seeing the quickening of the agenda. That's how it works, because it manifests as a loss of control of the ruling class that is really governing the country of Austria and also governing the entire world system.
It certainly feels like that it's almost lashing out a little bit because it feels like the tide is turning. The polls say in Austria that it's 50-50 in terms of who agrees with the mandate and who disagrees with the mandate. Would you say that was an accurate figure from what you're seeing in the country?
Well, I would never believe a statistic that I've myself not checked.
No.
And the polls is just another indication of the public deception that is taking place every single second of our life. The key point in all of this is that it doesn't matter what the public thinks or what any mass, may that be 70%, may that be 30%, or may that be 99% think. It's about what you think.
Yes, I was born into MK Ultra mind control. It has been around a long time because Project Paperclip brought over the Nazi and fascist scientists that had been studying the effects of trauma on the human mind in Nazi Germany. And so much had been learned then. And the war wasn't won, it was just brought over here. So by the time I was born in 1957 in Muskegon, Michigan, that information had been incorporated into the CIA's knowledge base on the effects of trauma on the human mind that they had also gleaned from the Catholic Church. So the Catholics had figured out how trauma raised suggestibility back through the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition and those horrors that were going on there. So that information, which had already been shared in Nazi Germany, was combined strong by the CIA with the Hitler-Himmler research into multi-generational incest-based children were the primary candidates for mind control, because it was found that our brains respond to trauma by compartmentalizing memory, and it creates a dissociative identity disorder when a child is sexually abused prior to age 5.
This is exactly like being in a cult.
I can't disagree with that.
If you talk to people in a cult, you know, you can go up to somebody now and say, why are you getting this injection? Well, so that my people around me don't get sick. You know, it's just altruistic. So I don't transmit the virus to Aunt Bessie, right? And then you read them. Fauci, CDC, Moderna say there are no studies about the transmission effect on this injection. It does not stop transmission, right? That's what they say. So you read that to them, and then you say, so now why would you get this? Well, so that Aunt Bessie doesn't get sick. And you think to yourself, here's where we're at. And here's the thing, whenever you're in a cult, you stop thinking, because it's more important for you to be accepted by the cult, because that's where your meaning comes from. So if you say, I don't think this cult guy knows what he's talking about, then you will be shamed, humiliated, othered, ostracized, and sometimes worse. And that's where humanity is right now. If they say what I'm saying, or even think about what I'm saying, they will be ostracized from their community. And to most people, there is nothing worse than that. They will fight to the death for that not to happen.
I've just had enough of complying out of fear, and it's just I've really felt that there's nothing to look forward to. We're having our rights taken away from us, and yes, I guess I'm making this stand as a human being, as a mother, but yeah, most of all to make sure our children have their freedom. Yes, well, before I made this announcement, we were really struggling to get bums on seats. And yes, especially the film industry, that really suffered as a result of lockdown, because the council's unlawful attempted closure has, scared people off. But on the flip side of that, we've got support from all over the country. Like, we've just had visitors come from Dublin to show their support. We've had people driving from Cardiff, Yorkshire, yes, all over the country. So that's been really nice. And we've had such a vibrant, diverse mix of people here. And yes, the coffee shop's really thriving as a result.
I'll use the term common law because it's, like you said, it's a generalisation, but
it's a general term.
Can that actually be used successfully within the current system? Do the courts, police and public take that seriously?
Right, that is a very difficult question to ask. Okay, here's the thing. People have been brainwashed into thinking that something written down on a piece of paper and that some politician gives is law. It is not. Okay, it is only a policy. And it does not apply to you unless you actually sign it. So if a politician says, here we go, Coronavirus Act 2020, I've written it down, it's a policy. If you take it and go, yeah, I like the idea of that, I'm going to shut down my business, I'll get my pen, I'll sign it, the politician signs it, it then becomes a contract. That politician can then issue that contract onto you. If your signature is not on it, it does not legally or lawfully apply to you in any way. So there's a lot of people out there trying to find this common law. They get into this trap that it's like, oh, I'm being forced to have a vaccine at work. By the way, you're not being forced. You're being tricked. It's only an offer. We can touch on that in a bit if you wish. But you've got people out there go, I've got to get me some of this common law. Where can I get the book on common law? You've been programmed to think that bits of paper given to you somehow apply to you. And then you've got to go off and get a different bit of paperwork. Oh, I've got a different piece of paperwork. And then that fights this piece of paperwork. That is not how common law works. You won't find it. If it's written down, it's someone else's policy. If it's someone else's policy, it's someone else's law. If your signature's not on it, it doesn't apply to you. Acts, statutes, legislation, all this does not apply to you unless your signature's on it. You've been tricked in giving all that away and believing if you step into a court, that's something to do with law. It is not. You don't go to court. Your court is with you all the time. So that's what sovereign means. Common law is within. It's in your mind and in your heart. It's your authority. You use your paperwork, not someone else's. This is like constitutional law. This is where people go wrong. Like in America, they say, you ask the American, do you have the right to bear arms? They say, yes. And I say, okay, where do you get this right? And I say, it's in the Constitution. The Constitution gives me that right. No, it doesn't. You already had that right. It's inherent to you. You already had the right to bear arms. The Constitution is supposed to protect you from the government infringing on your rights. Your rights are yours. You've got to get your brain set right, your mindset right. They're your rights. So I show you how to protect them using your paperwork in your jurisdiction, using your courts. You don't want to be stepping into that court.
That requires you facing a tough reality. The other thing is that, and I've written about this too. I've written about all these subjects. When something bugs me, I write about it. We used to have as our guiding light in society religion, and I'm kind of a card-carrying atheist, pro-choice guy. But over the years, I've evolved this awareness of the structural importance of religion and how it guided societies that otherwise would have been in chaos. So I think as we pushed religion sort of off to the perimeters, we replaced it with political causes. So instead of going to church and saying, don't hurt your neighbor, don't covet his wife, blah, blah, blah. Now it's my team supports climate change. My team hates Trump. My team hates Biden. And so we are a bunch of holy rollers. We just roll to a different tune.